continue in this series on giving or tithing. The next question we want to tackle is when to give. And this is the issue of the first fruits. Before I get into that, the first thing I want to drive home to you is this. You own nothing. Oh, you think you own stuff, but you don't own stuff. Look, it belonged to somebody before you, and once you're gone, it's going to belong to somebody after you. That stuff is simply on loan to you for about 70 to 80 years, or something like that. So, if it doesn't belong to us, who owns it? Well, ultimately, it's all God's. And so we are simply managers temporarily of some of His resources. One of the places this shows up in the scriptures is in the Exodus. So you have the Israelites who are enslaved in Egypt. God does wonderful, mighty things to get them out of slavery because slavery stinks. It's bad. And so He gets them out. One of the unique things He does, though, it's kind of buried in there. It's this weird, obscure thing. He has the Egyptians give to the Israelites gold and jewelry and silver and hooks them up just as they are being emancipated and leaving. Why? What's going on there? The reason why is because God was looking down the road. God had a plan, and He was giving His people resources because down the road, God was going to have them build this elaborate worship venue called the Tabernacle, and it would take a lot of money. God had seeded that money into their lives. But you know what the Israelites did first? They built a golden calf. So here God had put money in their lives so that they could do ministry later, but instead what they did is they used it towards idolatry. Now it's ridiculous, isn't it? But isn't that what we do all the time? Like if you are given a raise, before you even get the first paycheck in your hand, you already have the money spent, don't you? What if God gave you that increase so that you could increase His kingdom, not your consumption? What if you were supposed to increase your standard of giving, not your standard of living? I mean, just because God gave it to you doesn't mean it's meant for you. It might be for His kingdom. Do you see that? You're not an owner. What if I took a checking account and I put about $5,000 or $10,000 in there, something like that, and I made you a signer on the account, and I'm not going to spend a dime of it. It's yours to spend. I just give you one stipulation. You just have to give it away. All right? This is a fun giving account, and you get to be the guy that does all the giving on it. And so you're going to go around, and you're going to, throughout the year, like a need crops up, and you hear about it, bam, you write a check. Here you go. And you look great. You're having a blast, right? You go to some fundraiser. Sure, absolutely. Here you go in. And you're just having a riot. You're hilarious, a cheerful giver, giving money away all year. But what if instead, come to the end of that year, and I find out actually you spent all that money, my money that I gave you to give away, you spent all of that money on yourself, a golden calf idol. You spent it on you. See, here's what I'm getting at. I think giving is really difficult when you view it as your money. But when you view it as God's money, God's resources for His kingdom, then giving can be really fun. You're not giving away your stuff, you're giving away His stuff, but you get to do it. You get to have a riot with it. You see that? Therefore, for a Christian not to give faithfully is actually stealing from God. That's the language used throughout the Bible. Like, let me give you a verse from Leviticus chapter 27, verse 30. God speaking here, He says, every tithe of the land, whether of the seed of the land or of the fruit of the trees, is the Lord's. It is holy to the Lord. Okay, so that money that you're supposed to give, that tithe, that actually belongs to God. And to withhold it then is to steal from God. You're robbing God. Does that sound like harsh language? That's just the language of Malachi chapter 3. Let me read you this section, starting in verse 8. Will a man rob God? Yet you are robbing me. But you say, how have we robbed you? In your tithes and contributions. You are cursed with a curse, for you are robbing me, the whole nation of you. Bring the full tithes into the storehouse, that there may be food in my house, and thereby put me to the test, says the Lord of hosts. If I will not open the windows of heaven for you and pour down for you a blessing until there is no more need. You see, when we withhold money that God has given us to give away, we are actually robbing God. And I'm going to give you a little speculation here. This is all mine, but I wonder if we never get ahead. Like, I wonder if when we fail to give what God has given us to give away and we keep it for ourselves, I wonder if in the economy of God we don't get ahead. Like if we end up getting therefore more car repairs or appliances break and stuff and maybe health care bills, I don't know. If the bills mount up and that money actually dissipates. That would seem wise because then God's not enabling us. We don't get ahead by spending his money on ourselves. I wonder, I don't know that, but I wonder that. This much I do know though. One of the things that solves this when to give issue is that we give to God first. This is a biblical principle called the first fruits. Obviously comes out of the Old Testament from Proverbs chapter 3, verses 9 to 10. And it says this: honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty, and your vats will be bursting with wine. You want to be hooked up? Then you give to God first with the first fruits of your produce. That's the idea there, that the first crops that came in from the field, those went to the Lord. The firstborn of the flock, that went to the Lord. Not the last part, not the leftovers. Look, God doesn't want your leftovers. He wants your faith. He wants your worship. See, it takes faith to give to God first, right? Because like if I'm a herdsman, I'm a shepherd. When I give God the first sheep that's born, that's hard. Because I don't know if there are going to be 9 more sheep, right? So I do it by faith. But if I wait until all 10 are born, and then I give to God one of those 10, I give to him last. And usually what I do then is I give him the one I don't like. I give him the deformed sheep. I give him that sheep that keeps getting in my garden and I'm ticked at him. No, that's not what he's looking for. I'm giving him my leftovers. We give to God first because God is first. He's in his rightful place in our hearts. That's worship. You see, God will never be second. He'll never take a silver medal. He'll never accept a red ribbon. When I fail to put God first, then the universe doesn't change. You get that? Like God is still first, but my heart is messed up. So giving to God first is an issue of aligning my heart to the reality of the universe. In light of this, one of the practical questions is, well, do you give to God off your gross or off your net income? Like, where do you apply the percentage, gross or net? And I've heard before the thing, well, what do you want? Do you want a gross blessing or a net blessing? That never helped me. I'm like, I don't know. What's the right answer? That never helped me. Here's what helps me more. Give to God first. God gets his cut first, before the government. You see that? We give to God before we give to Uncle Sam. So yeah, I give off my gross income to the church. I think that's the right answer. But you know what? Honestly, I'm not that bunged up on that one because I don't think that's the issue. If all Christians start to tithe off their net income, we're going to be okay. Gross or net isn't the issue. The issue is a heart issue and you're just not giving. So I'm not bunged up on that. But I think, yeah, you give to God first. That's the issue there. Now, if you're going to give to God first, then the question is, where do you give? Do you give to the church? To other charities, to both? Where do you give? That's the subject matter for our next video. Stay tuned for that. Thanks.